it's Jen from over at worldofjencraft.com, and this is our card for today. So I branched out and decided to try out the Zig Color Real Brush markers. My friend Sasha from over at Handmade Happiness, if you guys haven't checked out her YouTube channel, make sure to head over there and check it out. She's got some super cute stuff. She had done up a card, and a few of her cards, I believe, if I remember right. I'm a really bad friend here. Anyway, she had used the Zig watercolor markers and highly recommended them, so I went ahead and purchased some, and this, although it's not perfect, is my first attempt. Literally, the very first thing, I sat down, stamped out my image, colored it, and this is what I ended up coming up with. So I thought it turned out pretty darn sweet. Yes, it has imperfections, but you know, I'm tickled with the first try. So let's get on with the supplies, which there isn't hardly any supplies at all. And I will show you how I did this. So I just wanted to show you briefly, now that I'm kind of sidetracked here. I did two variations. So I completely forgot which colors I used when I initially colored this, because I did it yesterday and I did not save aside the ones that I used. So I went ahead and I tried it today, and while I did not get the exact colors down, I kind of liked the way this one turned out too. My mouse is a little bit more brown and colored in, and this is a little bit warmer of a tone. So, you know, I think I might have a combination of the two with this next card. So I guess we'll wait and see what ends up happening with it. But I was pretty tickled with the way both of these turned out. So let's get on, and I'll throw this one up here. With the supplies. So I will list out all of the markers that I used, but here they are, and I'll list out on the video to tell you which ones I used for today's sample. Wink of Stella, I finally got a new Wink of Stella, and I don't know with this new lighting of mine if you can even see the shimmer that is on these cards, but it's just really super cute in person. So I used my basic black Stampin' Pad. These are retired now, but I need to get, I believe it stays on, that you have to use with watercolor paper, and correct me please if I'm wrong. I know that Memento goes with the alcohol inks. So I did use the basic black archival Stampin' Pad to stamp out my image. And the Penny Black Best Friends, this is just the cutest little image. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. And then I don't have any watercolor brushes right now, so I pulled out my aqua painters from Stampin' Up, and I did end up using the smaller end mostly with my detailed work, and then I brought out the larger one for my sky and for my grass. So they both worked fine, you know, until I maybe take some lessons and learn how to do this a little bit better. So I've already stamped out my image on watercolor paper, and this is just a pad of watercolor paper that I bought from Hobby Lobby, and I used the not so textured side, so I kind of used the back side of it for less texture on this. And then I used basic black. Okay, so this is a 3 3/4 by 5 by 5, and the basic black is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And my Whisper white background, or card base, is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. I know I usually do this first, so I'm a little backwards today. So let's get started with our coloring. And I'm just super excited to show you guys how well these things color in. So I think I'm going to start off with this darker, it's the dark brown. And I just use that to color in just this area where his little, I guess quills are for a hedgehog. Do they have quills? I don't know. So I just kind of, nothing too fancy. You guys know me and my fancy. I don't do fancy. And I think that's kind of what I liked about this is as a beginner, it made me feel like, wow, I actually was able to create something with this and have it turn out kind of stinking cute. So, yeah, so that's all I did with that. And then I'll go back over it with my water brush. And then I brought in this color here, I believe, which is mid gray, which I don't think that's it. So let me get out my container. And while I've got my container out here, I will tell you, I did buy the 36 color set. I am a person who needs to have it and have it all, and I kind of regret not buying more. So, but this is a good start, and I can add on to it. So I think this is the color that I use, which is called Oatmeal. And I will have all of these colors listed out as well. And maybe it wasn't Oatmeal. It's not looking the same as either one of my cards at this point, but I can always add on and go a little bit darker. So I'm just gonna come in here. And the one thing that I found with these is you don't need to put a ton of color onto the paper for it to be, you'll see once I stick my water on it. So let me grab out the smaller of the two tips. Yeah, you don't have to lay a whole lot of color down for it to work nicely. So I'm just gonna kind of just brush out this direction. And I think that's looking like it might be a little bit lighter than what I wanted to initially go with. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of put that out. And I'm not laying a ton of water down. And then I'm just gonna come back in through here and just kind of soften this up a little bit. And you can even kind of bring some of that into here. And then just make sure when you're going from color to color that you wipe off your color from the previous one so I didn't get that dark in there. I'm gonna go ahead and let that one kind of dry just a little bit. I feel like it needs to be a little bit darker, but I'm gonna come in and I used this pale pink just to color in his little footsies and his hands. And I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just gonna use that and color it in and let it go because I liked the way the color looked as is. So I'm just gonna color that in. And for my mouse, I'm thinking my original one, I used this gray, which I'm going to try this gray, I guess is what it's called. And this one, I think I ended up going with more of a brown gray, but again, I'm kind of playing. So, this might be a little too dark, but we'll see what happens when I run my watercolor over it. So I kind of just came in here a little bit with it, and then I'll blend it out with my water brush. I think each one of these is going to end up looking completely different. So, yeah, I think I ended up using a really dark gray, but I'm just going to use it kind of sparingly here. And I am just dragging my color from the darker until it gets a little bit lighter. Just kind of blending it in. And I'm going to take my color and just kind of color his belly in. And if I want to, I can come back and maybe add just a little bit more color on there. But I'm kind of liking that. Now, he is turning out a lot darker, so look at that. I've got 3 different mice, 3 different colors. Take your pick, and that's kind of the fun about this, I'm finding, is so far I've just been able to kind of lay my color down, and it looks pretty darn sweet. no matter what I do. Maybe it's just the images that are just stinking adorable. So I want to come back in and I'm just going to give them a little pink cheek, and then I'm going to come back over it and just kind of brush out that pink a little bit. And I'm kind of making a hot mess with it all. And one of mine, I kind of came in here with a little bit of pink in his ear, and the other one I did not. I kind of liked the way the pink in the ear turned out better. And then I'm gonna give this little guy a little pink cheek too. And then I'm gonna come back over it with this oatmeal. Now that it's kind of dry, see if I just can't darken this up a little bit more. And it really does lighten up when it dries, so. There, his pink cheek turned out a little bit better. So I'm just gonna kind of come back over and just blend this in a little bit better. So that's not too shabby. And then I keep wanting to put this cap on the water pen. So I'm coming back in with the pale pink, and I'm just gonna color the little mouse's feet, the pale pink. I just realized that I didn't get his other hand, so I just tried to pick up some of that gray again, and it did not come out. Is that what I need? That's gray. So I don't want to put a ton of stuff in there because I just want a little bit of color. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, now that I have my little critters done, for the most part, is I'm going to come in with this carmine red. And all I did is I just laid down the color pretty decently down here at the bottom of my mushroom top. And then came in and starting from the bottom, I'm just bringing that color up. Just kind of being careful not to get into the little white spots because I want to leave those white. You see how that color just transfers right up. And I feel like this is just kind of a natural, you know, shading where I don't really have to think too much about it. It just kind of goes from that nice darker shaded area at the bottom of the mushroom and then blends up into a lighter shade at the top. Maybe that's not the proper shading, but I kind of think it turned out okay. So we'll just get this. And I might just kind of try and just blend that out a little bit better as it goes up. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same with the other mushroom, and I am going to fast forward. Okay, so there's my mushrooms, and I went ahead and just did full strength on my little ladybug down here because I wanted him or her or whatever it is, I wanted it to just be that full strength red. And let's go ahead and I'm going to color in my little flower with this yellow. And then I came in here and I just colored this little package in. And I know I brought in kind of this darker, this one's orange, and this one was yellow. Ha! So I kind of wanted a little bit of variation in my packaging. And then I'm just going to come over here to my little flower and kind of put an orange center. And I did go back over that and kind of just blended that out. For the bottom side of my mushroom, this is a green gray, and I don't remember for sure if this was what I used. I'm thinking maybe with one of them it was, but that's just going to basically just kind of color that whole part in there. Just like that. And it's a lid to something, and I can't see what it is. Oh, there it is. Okay. I do like to make sure that my lids are put back on. And for the bottom of my mushrooms, this is a mid-gray. And I think this is going to turn out completely different from either one of my other ones, because I don't think I'm using any of the same colors. So I'm just going to bring that across from that concentrated area. And I'm going to do the same over here on this side. That just kind of gives that natural shading. That turned out, I think, pretty decent in there. And we are almost done. Yay! And then for the envelope, I went ahead and just kind of put a little bit of this. This is a light gray. And so I just kind of put it in just as a little shadowing. And then went ahead and blended it out. Let's make sure I don't have any color on here. And that just kind of makes it so it's not, you know, that stark white. And I think, if I'm looking at this, I think I'm ready to go on to my grass and then my sky. So let me get all of these out of this is driving me crazy here. So for the grass, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of get started in it. But this is, I don't know if I told you, it's a mid-green. And when I first did this card, I initially had just done this upper portion of the grass. And I thought, you know, that kind of looked a little stark. So I decided to add just a little bit more. And then, of course, that little bit more ended up kind of turning into like the whole entire bottom of it. So that's kind of how I got this bottom area. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay my color down, and then I'm going to start blending out, and then I'm going to lay more color down as I go, and I'll fast forward through this. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm just going to kind of start on my sky while this dries, because I want to add like another layer of the green on there. And again, my sky, I went ahead and just kind of started brushing on the color, and not a ton. Now, the first time I did it, on my first card, I think I went a little bit at a time, because the second one I found by the time I got around to, you know, like I ended up doing it the whole oh, what am I trying to say? I did the whole entire top part, and I found that by the time I got over the other side, I felt like it wasn't blending as nicely. And I think maybe it's because it dried too much on the watercolor card, you know, on the paper. So I thought this one I might just kind of take it just a little portion at a time. So I am going to stop talking and get coloring. And I will, well, I guess I'm coloring, but I'm gonna stop talking and I'm going to fast forward through this part. Okay, let me get my lid back on here. And then I'm just gonna kind of come back over here again with my green. And making sure I got rid of all of my blue. Just kind of blend this out so I can hit the bottom of my watercolor paper. So this, for me right now, is just kind of a trial and error. And I kind of have debated on whether or not I would, you know, show you guys my lack of knowledge when it comes to this. But yet I also kind of just wanted to show you that, you know, coming from someone who's never used these before, I actually think it didn't turn out too terrible. And you know, if I was an expert right away, what fun would that be? I think half the fun in this whole entire craft is learning new things and, you know, kind of always keeping us on our toes and keeping our brains functioning and right? I mean, learning is good for us. So at least that's kind of what I tell myself. This is good for me because I'm learning. I did see a little spot right here that I kind of missed with my, I don't know if that'll go in, but okay, so this is it. Let's go ahead. I'm going to set this aside and just, I'm going to set it over there, way over there. And I'm going to adhere my basic black to my Whisper White, just in the center. And I think for this card, with as little or minimal, you know, cardstock that we have, the image is really what sets this out. It's the image and the watercolor, and then it turns into this just bright, beautiful, fun, sweet card. And you don't have to use the sentiment best friends if you do not want to. This would be adorable as anything, as a thank you card, as a thinking of you. I could even see it, you know, maybe as a little birthday card or whatever you want. Or maybe don't put anything on the front. Maybe just use it as a just because. Just because it's cute, right? So my paper is still a little damp, but I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to put this on. And I did find with the watercolor paper, because it curls up, I wanted to really put quite a bit of adhesive on the back. Generally, I'm having a hard time getting this centered. Generally, I would use, I have an ATG gun, so I would usually use that adhesive because it does have a tendency to stick pretty darn nicely. So let's grab our sentiment. We are getting close to being done. And that is just going to get stamped there. And because I didn't wait for it to be completely dry, I did get a little bit of a smudge in there. And lastly, my favorite thing in the world is we're just going to brush on some clear Wink of Stella. And I did not brush it onto the little hedgehog or the mouse itself, but I just kind of put a little bit on the present, the envelope, And I did go over the whole entire mushroom. Now, when you are using, if you do choose to put the Wink of Stella on, you do need to do one color at a time, because the watercolor will transfer onto your pen, and then whatever color that is on there, you will transfer to your next thing. So just make sure that you take time and you kind of wipe it off before you move on. So I went ahead and just put it in each of these little white areas. And then I also put it on my little ladybug. See how much color transfers onto there? So you just want to be careful with that. And then I came over here and put some on my little flower. And that is it. That is our card. So, kind of cute, huh? And check it out. Okay, so each one of these, I used a little slightly different color combination, but I think each one of them turned out pretty darn cute. I have to say, out of all three, I think this one's my favorite, the way this mouse turned out. This one's a little dark for my liking, and I think I got too much pink in his ears and face. And then I think this one's kind of sweet too, because he has a lighter face with kind of a darker body or whatever. But, so that's it. So same image, same markers, just different color variations, and I think it turned out pretty dang cute. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I do. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe. And as always, worldofjencraft.com, I will have printable, downloadable dimensions that you can print out that has a full color picture as well. So thanks again, and I will check you guys later. Bye.